everyone. It's Matt Fraser here with Digital Web Solutions. And on this week's edition of E-Coffee with Experts, I have Simone Godwin with me. Simone is the founder of Pixlrabbit, a strategic award-winning web design and marketing firm based in Atlanta, Georgia, that focuses on helping small businesses increase sales and growth. When not helping small businesses with marketing, Simone enjoys spending time with her family, gardening, and doing yoga. Simone, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, right on. So Simone, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, for instance, what did you want to be when you were growing up? Like when you were in kindergarten?
Teacher.
Teacher? Oh, right on. Cool.
Yeah.
And what was your favorite subject in school?
I don't know if I had a favorite subject. I just really liked school.
Oh, cool. Right on. That's probably the exception, not the rule. Most kids don't think they like school. So I noticed from your LinkedIn profile that you transitioned from being in law into digital marketing. What did that process look like?
Well, I worked for a slot machine manufacturer.
Yeah.
And they needed some help with their intellectual property. And they asked me to get some training, which if you get legal training, that's called law school. So I went back to Emory's JM program, their Juris Master program with a concentration in intellectual property, and helped them with their IP.
Oh, wow.
So the company was bought and lost about half of their employees. And I was one of them at the time. So I worked for another marketing company and then an HR company. And it was that time at the HR company where I was working on, they had just done a rebrand, but it was very disconnected and disjointed. So like everybody knew them as their old company name. And I think the website was still the old company name, but they had changed logos and their email addresses, like nothing matched. You know, the email addresses and the website were on, one URL, the company name was something else, and then the logo name was a third thing. So I helped them get everything, I made a website, got everything cohesive, got their logo on all their marketing material. And it was kind of about that point where I was like, I really like doing this, and got into doing digital marketing for myself. Yeah. Oh,
right on. So the name of your agency is called Pixlrabbit. How did you come up with that name?
So while I was working at that HR company, I had a friend of mine who I called in to help with some network issues. And we started talking about just web solutions. And I was like, oh man, I'm building this new website for this company. And he showed me some web tools and we started talking, and we initially wanted to put the IT and the design together, and we were going to call the company Struggle Bunny IT.
Oh, yeah.
But due to the structure of his business, it wasn't really possible for us to form another company together. So I wanted to take, the heart behind Struggle Bunny and definitely get struggle out of the name and come up with something clever and catchy. And I liked the idea of a pixel being like the smallest graphical element, and then how rabbits have a reputation for multiplying. So, the push and the core of Pixlrabbit is really about taking a really small idea and growing it. So taking a pixel of an idea and multiplying it and turning it into something great.
Hey, that's pretty neat. That's a pretty neat concept for an idea, for a name. What makes your approach to web design different from other web design agencies?
I think we're really all about relationships. We really get to know our clients, and people are not going to call into like a 1-800 number. They're not going to get a, operator. They don't have to submit support tickets. They can email a real person directly and get a response directly in a timely manner that addresses their needs. And, it's customized, personalized care.
That's awesome. So what are the most important elements of an optimized website?
So when I'm looking at a website that's, say, under optimized, the first thing that I'm going to look at is kind of like, well, how does it look? On a high level, does it look, because you've looked at websites where you're like, this just doesn't really, there's those websites that really are like, oh, this is cool. Like, oh, wow. And then other websites where you're just like, scroll, where's the contact information or whatever. So kind of looking at a website and seeing, what does the branding look like? Do they have a logo? Does it look like they're implementing brand guidelines? Do they have fonts all over the place? Is there consistency? What about the colors? Do we have a solid color theme running through there? So kind of like surface level colors, fonts, and structure of the website. Can I find what I'm looking for? Been on a couple of websites recently where you're just clicking around and you can't seem to find the information you're looking for. And that's frustrating. And users leave those websites. So navigation, layout, how is the information presented? Messaging, I would say, is another important one. And then you get into the technical aspects of a website. So there's kind of like the feels side with your look, feel, messaging, layout. And then there's the technical side with, is it fast? Can I look at it on mobile and scroll through it well? Is it intuitive? Do things behave like I think they should? If there's a color swatch, when I click on the color swatch, does it change the color of the image? Are there linked images? Things like that. I think that really optimize websites.
Oh, absolutely. So when you're doing a content audit of a website, when you're doing a content audit of a website, what are the main elements you look at? And how do you strategize your content strategy?
Again, I think it goes back to the relationship with the client. What are their goals? Do we really understand what they're trying to accomplish with the website? And do I feel like they're talking to me with the content? Do I feel like their content is optimized for the right user? If we're working on a website that doing senior care, we want to be really careful about the verbiage that we use. We don't want to say, hey, are you tired of taking care of your old person? No, we want to say, this time is really hard. We want to show compassion and empathy. This is an extremely hard and stressful time in deciding what to do with aging loved ones. And so having content that really speaks to them and, shows them that what you're talking about, that's so important with content, So speaking to answer your question, going through, from a technical aspect, we would be auditing the website, like looking at your tags behind your text, kind of looking at, back in grade school when you had to learn how to make an outline, with your like title of the outline and then I and then A, B, C and your subpoints like that. Like, is the content organized in a way that makes sense? Do we have a lot of redundant content? Things like that. Maybe even pulling all the content off and looking at how it's organized without the visuals. Are we using correct grammar? Are we speaking to the right age group? Are we using, too complicated words? Are we using too simple words? Does it sound good if you read it? Things like that.
Absolutely. So how do you measure the success of the content marketing efforts?
I wrote notes on this one.
That's fine. Yeah.
How we measure success? Well, first of all, I think it depends on what the goals are. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about web traffic, then we want to increase traffic. Well, then we look at web traffic. We're talking about looking at increasing speed. We're looking at speed. If we're looking at engagement, if we're looking at just a wide variety of things. It just kind of depends on what it is. And, really talking to the client, sometimes they're not necessarily looking just for sales. Sometimes they're looking for a pipeline. Sometimes they're looking to adjust their focus. So, maybe sales aren't going up, but the percentage of sales going from, let's say, selling small tchotchkes to doing larger custom projects. So as maybe the income stays the same, but it's shifting towards where they're trying to go, then that would be considered success.
Okay. So collecting the right data is crucial for any CRO strategy. What are the most crucial metrics that you look at while optimizing a landing page?
I think we kind of touched on those earlier, speed, SEO, your technical SEO, your H1s, your page titles, your page descriptions, how fast it is. Does it look great on tablet? Does it look great on mobile?
No, that's awesome. Yeah. So how do you plan and structure and promote like your blog traffic to create content for the blog and things like that?
For ours or just
or for ours or for clients, like your strategy behind that?
So I think for some people, I think it's just what's helpful to know, making sure that, we start out, it's a library. We want to start with answering basic questions. I think we have blogs about like, should I redesign my website or should I rebuild it? Like we get these questions a lot. When I find myself answering the same question over and over for clients, how much does SEO cost? What is SEO? And I write a blog post about it. So we have a repository of basic info. And then I think we can look to Google Trends as a great tool that we love to use. You can put in a search term and it'll show you related searches. So let's say we're doing custom jewelry design and we look at the related searches to it. And one of the searches is, how to tell if a diamond is real or something like that. And that looks like, let's say that got really high rankings or a lot of people search for that. Well, then that informs us on, hey, maybe we should write a blog called How to Tell If Diamonds Are Real, things like that. So we're looking at what people want, what people are searching for, what's going to help our SEO with keywords and kind of building our blog content that way.
Absolutely. Hey, do you have any tips or best strategies for using a best practices for creating a content calendar, editorial calendar?
I would say, honestly, just do it. Yeah. I think so many people get caught up in, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to plan. I mean, I know that's not my favorite part. My favorite part is not like, what day are we scheduling this? What day is this coming out? That's not my favorite part. Like obviously you can look at data and say, hey, we got a really big wave of traffic on Saturdays. Maybe we should move our Friday post to Saturday or, looking at the data when we get higher traffic, when certain posts do better, let's post every day of the week and then see which one does the best, or let's pick a schedule and then, tweak from there based on holidays and, events going on with that business. So, there's so many tools out there. Wix has now got a social media planning and scheduler calendar that's built into the back end of their website, which is beautiful. And then, Canva is another popular graphic designing tool that also has a calendar built in. We've got Buffer and Hootsuite and stuff like that. So there's just so many different tools out there for planning. I think it's just don't get paralyzed. And, if there's a post that you go back and you're like, oh, I don't know what I was thinking, this looks terrible, then just archive it or delete it. It doesn't have to be, sometimes I've been surprised at certain posts that do well that I wouldn't necessarily have thought on first glance would have done well. So you can always surprise yourself. Again, just get out there, I think, is the most important thing.
No, that's awesome. I personally love using GIFs in my marketing campaigns and to make people laugh.
I think they're great, like in email campaigns.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Where do you think they're most impactful in a marketing strategy?
Yeah. Email campaigns, or even like if you do an SMS campaign, things like that. I think using them in ways that are organic to how they're used. So if if you're on a particular platform that uses memes a lot, then it could be appropriate to share something on that. If you're, and if it depends on the type of business that you have, there's a group in Atlanta that really focuses on gaming. Like they offer facilities to schools for schools to come in and use their equipment for gaming, since that's such a huge thing now.
Oh, wow.
In their social media, especially because their target audience is younger and they get it, using memes and funnier things like that, I think is more appropriate and effective.
So it depends. So what I hear you say is it depends on your target market and who the client's trying to reach.
And what their business
to be used.
Is. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. So driving engagement with an increasing number of channels and trying to connect with customers seems like a challenge right now. How do you tackle that?
Biggest challenge in digital marketing right now is that there's so much competition. Everyone is scrambling to get their product and service in front of the right audience. Especially since 2020, when we have so much less in-person, face-to-face content or contact. Absolutely. I think people, there's a weird balance between, I want the right content in front of me. I want you to market to me what I want to see. I heard a comedian who was joking about Amazon saying being mad at Amazon for not knowing ahead of time what he would want and having it delivered straight into his hand. It's don't you know what I'm going to want? You should be sending me what I want before I want it. I want it now,
Yeah.
And so we want these solutions and we don't always know what they are. And we kind of depend on Amazon and Google to tell us what we want. But at the same time, there's also this balance with privacy where it's I don't want you knowing where I'm shopping, and I don't want you to take my data. I don't want you to steal it. We all are so annoyed when we get signed up for email lists that we didn't sign up for. We get text messages from companies that we didn't want text messages from. That's so annoying. So it's there's this balance between show me the right product, but don't use my information incorrectly. And that's a challenge. Absolutely.
So what part do you think customer avatars, for instance, customer avatars play in personas? In another word, avatars and personas play in effective marketing and creating content, even for a website. Is that something you guys do in your processes for your clients, creating avatars and personas?
It's definitely something that we think about.
Yeah.
In thinking about who the client is. I'm big on authenticity. So if you are a small company that offers personalized service, I think this was a bigger thing a few years ago, where I get companies that are I've got 3 employees, but I want to look really big. And I always kind of hesitate and would I feel like we have a mini therapy session, where it's there already are big companies out there. Why do you want to compete with AT&T? Why don't you be you? And there are companies who don't want to hire the big ones. They want personalized, customized service. So why don't you start with being authentic with who you are? And, I think that's a big thing that's gained popularity, is really authenticity coming through in companies. And, I'm not saying being unprofessional, but we're not trying to look like something we're not, or offer something that we're not, because you're going to set your clients up for disappointment,
Absolutely.
So that, and I think it's also becoming more important to shoppers, especially the younger generation, authenticity and thinking about the ethics and brand responsibility, social responsibility that company has.
Absolutely. So what are some ways that people can display that authenticity and differentiate themselves with their websites that you've done? If there's a specific client you can think of or recall if you're able.
Sure. I think, I have a client who makes jewelry. I'm wearing her specifically for the purpose of this interview. She does, she does handmade jewelry. Like she makes it, and I feel like that's so rare that, we don't want her to look like a big shop that's just like sending stuff out. We want people to know that, hey, your shipping times may be longer because somebody has to make it, So for her website, we are saying, we're using our words to say handmade, custom. We're using images of her actually doing the work. And in our social media, we're using, we're using stories, the stories like her Instagram stories to show, the process of doing a custom piece. Like these were like super boring earrings that I never, ever wore. And, asking people, hey, do we like the longer chain or the shorter chain? Involving and engaging your audience in the process can show. To me, that's shows authenticity very well. Obviously,
absolutely,
are another way to get. There's your basics, your Google verified reviews and customer testimonials, and all of that shows authenticity. But it's really, it's the whole thing,
Yeah. So, what are some of the ways you've helped that client to like grow traffic and growth that have been effective?
That have been effective. This is such an unusual client, and I love her story. Okay. She came to me, and she had a website on a particular platform and marketing email campaigns on another particular platform. And, she had somebody taking pictures and doing Instagram posting for her, and I just thought we could do better. Like her Pinterest account gets like tens of thousands of impressions. She gets, maybe hundreds of thousands at this point. She's reaching a lot of people. So again, that was like, okay, I think, how we're allocating funds, like let's make sure our website's fast. We ended up switching e-commerce platforms for her. We rebuilt her website. We managed social media for her. We're, sending out her email campaigns. So as far as her content calendar, again, we're really aware of holidays and shopping days, Black Friday. We do bigger pushes and more content around shopping times. We want to talk about, the general jewelry shopping times, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. Those are the 2 ones that have come up recently. So we have more content and it's geared towards that. Looking at different retargeting efforts, ways to engage her audience. My favorite one, and here is, I think, an example of how we are different. I'm thinking about, here's a box with her logo on it, and I have her stickers on here. I'm kind of we submerge ourselves in our client's business. And so one of the big things I think that really helps e-commerce is reviews. showing Google and Facebook and Instagram that you are a trusted brand, that people are, behind you. So her birthday was on Monday. So I had the idea to send out kind of like an undercover email to her customers that, I think the subject line was something like, "Shh, don't tell Amy."
Oh yeah.
And inside, just to pique interest. And then inside it was, "Hey, we love Amy. If you've read any of her reviews, it talks about, everybody mentions her and how amazing she is." And so it was like, "Hey, for her birthday present, why don't you tell her how much you love her by leaving her a review on Google and Facebook?" So, and we got that was a great way to get people.
So you made it seem as if it was coming from like maybe a junior employee or somebody else besides her.
It was coming, well, like for me, like we even wrote in there like, "Hey, this is Amy's marketing person gone rogue."
Yeah, see, that's so smart, man. I've seen campaigns like that, email campaigns like that people have shared and examples. So the fact that you did that is so smart and it makes so much sense. It's like, I've seen campaigns where it's like, "While the boss is away, we're throwing he's out in he's on vacation while he's away. We're having a sale to anniversary sale or the boss is gone sale, or could be the boss's birthday, don't tell him sale. And we want to surprise him." So yeah, that's pretty smart that you did that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And so the results of that, it garnered lots of engagement and did it lead to a lot of sales?
Well, it led to reviews, which was
that's awesome. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So got her lots of reviews for her birthday. That was a nice gift to give her, that's for sure. You had mentioned talking about like she was using a different using one thing here and one thing there, and there's so many different tools that you can use that you can have this convoluted like mess of marketing stack. Mm-hmm. How important do you think it is to like HubSpot, launched how many years ago, and they were supposed to be like the all-in-one solution, although they've evolved a little bit more as they realized the market wanted more things. But how important do you think it is to have a integrated solution such as your CRM being integrated with your website and your email software and even marketing automation?
Very important.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my things that bugs me about WordPress that baffles me is kind of like, if you put a form on there, WordPress in and of itself doesn't really have like this content management system, where you got to add like gravity forms to it. And then when content comes in, you got to send it somewhere. It's not like you're organically sending out email marketing campaigns from the back end of WordPress most of the time. And so connecting things is really tough, but having integrated solutions. So where, when content's coming in, having auto replies, abandoned cart emails, just kind of like your basics. And as I was, a side note to your question, I think it's really important that digital marketing companies work with clients that they love their products. And that they themselves are passionate about. It's so hard it's a lot of work, and it's hard to put in the time, the energy, and just have the enthusiasm for a product that you're not crazy about,
True.
And it's really interesting how we can connect and how it's changed, how we connect has changed in the last few years. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned with that avatar, I was chatting on a help window with a wallpaper company. And the gentleman was in Australia.
Oh yeah.
And he was helping me get back into my account. And I submitted a password reset. And I got an email back from WordPress. And so I could see how that would be a huge obstacle to getting and retaining clients. Because if you sign up for an account and you can't get back into your account, you click password reset and you receive an email back from WordPress, maybe it goes into your spam folder. You're certainly not looking for an email from WordPress from a big company. So, and luckily the guy that managed the website was also the one helping me out at that point. So, I offered to do an audit for them, and I'll be doing a website audit for them, but I love their stuff. So it's not like work for me.
Aligning yourself.
So that's an example of where like their system wasn't cohesive and integrated, and how not being integrated could really hinder getting and maintaining their customers.
Do you think that the future of web design and marketing tools is all-in-one solutions? For instance, Shopify is the e-commerce platform the go-to e-commerce platform for a lot of people, or there's platforms out there that are dedicated platforms for HVAC companies, or dedicated platforms for restaurant websites as a service, I guess. And you mentioned Wix. I think they're pretty much a website as a service platform. Do you think that is the direction the internet's going for industries or niche specific solutions for businesses?
I have to say, I think Wix is crushing it. Yeah. You can look at Google's digital reports. So far, the changes that they've made recently have put them ahead in just their critical web stats above everybody else. My experience with Shopify, there are some sites that I've gone on where I'm like, wow, this is a great shopping experience. What platform is this? And I look it up and it's Shopify. Yeah. But, they are getting a bit piecemeal in how I see the back end. There's not a built-in review system. So then you've got to get, Yotpo in there and connect Yotpo to your site so that, you can get reviews on your website. It's like, if you're an e-commerce platform, you better have a review option built in. Or you better have a wish list. I think you have to add an app to Shopify to do wish lists. It's like, to me, that's kind of basic. That's
fundamental.
Yeah. And if you're Shopify, these are things that I don't want to have to ask you for. It's like, they should just be there. And, again, I would think that Shopify would really have a fast solution. Like I said, I've seen some websites in Shopify that were just beautiful and amazing. And then other ones that just were really lacking. And I feel like if you're so targeted towards one specific kind of website, there shouldn't be a huge range of experiences. We want to bring everybody more towards the great, like make it harder for people to have a bad experience.
So what do you think that difference is? Like, you've mentioned a couple of times that, you've been on certain websites, same Shopify, but one is better than the other. What was the difference in that experience that you had in that particular site you think did, based on your experience of visiting it or and what you do as a company? Are there some specific aspects that you can share with me that make that great experience versus that, that's what's going on here?
Yeah, I think the intuitiveness of the website, especially with shopping.
It's like the information architecture meaning?
Yes. Going back to my wallpaper example. Yeah. A lot of times I'm on my phone when I'm looking at wallpaper. Oh, okay. And so they have the color swatches below the description, which means if I'm looking at the picture, just scroll down, change the color, scroll back up, look at it, scroll back down, change the color, scroll back up.
Oh, that's not very intuitive, is it?
And that's not my favorite. So, little things like that. Again, customer service, quality. Product quality. I think that you're going to get people that are stickier because of that. But the people that, it's like, I don't want to I don't want to shop on their website. I have to keep scrolling back and forth, and I can't get it to look how I want it to look. Or, even Target's got, they have that AR option now where you can just, a lot of other companies too, where you can just, I'm on a point and click, I want to see this in my space.
Yeah.
We kind of get spoiled, after when we're shopping. If I've looked at X number of products that I can see in my space, and then I find one that I like, but I can't see it in my space, then it's going to make me less likely to buy that particular product. So
absolutely.
Maybe as before, I wasn't so inclined towards those, see it in my space products. Mm-hmm. After doing it a few times, I am more inclined, I think your hair and makeup companies are also jumping. I don't know if they were the one that started that, but, you can hold your phone up and click on different hair colors and it'll put it on you. I know Elf has a makeup one where if you want to, you can test out different lipsticks without buying. They've come up with these, there are really a lot of terrible things about the pandemic. But as far as what we've been forced to come up with innovations and try it before you buy, especially when it comes to makeup and hair color, things like in the beauty world, it's so much more convenient, than having to go into the store and hold up a swatch or buy 15 lipsticks and swatch them on your hand and then throw them all out and keep one, things like that.
How do you think the pandemic has changed?
You did ask about,
do you see more people coming online than more of your clients? Has it caused an increase in bump in your business, for instance, in more businesses that maybe didn't really care about their online presence before, but now they're like, wow, we really need to get serious about this?
Yes. The pandemic has changed how we shop. I think the insistence on convenience and customization has increased a lot. Yeah. It is no longer acceptable to have bad customer service. Okay. I think we've seen an increase in tolerance for shipping delays and shipping times. There's nothing that we can do about it. We can't change boats stuck in the Panama Canal, or we can't fix. There's certain problems that we can't fix, and so we're more accepting. While we do expect Amazon to instantly put things in our hand with small businesses, I think people are more spreading the love. I think we're more open to shopping elsewhere other than Amazon. I know for myself personally, I try to put the business in the hands of another small business, of a person. I've bought my daughter, I bought her a handmade dress from a mom in Texas off Etsy. Did I spend a little bit more? Yes, but I felt good about it. And the dress is extremely well made and it's beautiful. So in that way, it's worth it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So creating unique experiences, and people will be willing to pay a little bit more for, a product that isn't necessarily mass produced. People are probably more in willing to spend that extra dollars.
I mean, I feel like it's with anything. I mean, I was talking with a gentleman yesterday about, lawn care.
Oh,
and, he's about to have a baby.
Oh, wow.
So I know, and he doesn't have a company with a lot of levels of management. So I know that when I hire him, that money's going to his family. It's not going to somebody in another state. It's not going to
shareholders,
someone that's not doing any work, or I don't know. I don't have anything against the big companies. It's just, especially during the pandemic where, so many people were in need, it just seems
absolutely
more, I don't know, socially conscious to shop locally and support the people around you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So what does an ideal brand strategy look like when you're developing it for clients?
I think for us, our process, we're starting with a conversation. We're starting with, I like to think of it as downloading everything in the customer's mind into my mind and my team. I want them to know the customer, and I want people to be able to look at their website and be like, yes, that looks like me. That's exactly So we start with a conversation, really understanding how did the company get started? Who's their target audience? What marketing strategies, if any, have they done that have been successful or not been successful? What kind of logo do they think would be ideal for their company? One thing that's been quite effective over the years, which is a little tip here, when talking to clients and you think about fonts and colors, let's say we're designing a new logo, and you'll say, well, what do you think matches your brand? Or we don't always want, tech companies, it felt like every tech company was doing blue and gray for a while. It's you don't stand out that way. So the color of their shirt, or asking them about their favorite color, was always a really good way to get at what color direction to go to. And, if my favorite color is, that's one of the reasons I picked, my company's logo colors. I just picked my two favorite colors, teal and gold. And I think that's kind of an easy way to get at colors that go through. So branding, working with them, do we have a simple logo? I think that's another thing that is a mistake that's really easy to go to when you're doing branding. People try to get really overly complicated with their logo. A lot of businesses want to spell out everything that they do. If you're an insurance company, you want to say insurance, and then you want to have a picture of a car and a house and a person and a boat so that people know that I think there's ways that you can do that, and you don't have to literally spell it out or have pictures of everything. Yeah. I mean, we have other clever, of course, the FedEx logo with the arrow kind of built into it. We have things like that are a little bit more clever.
So what would you say would be one of your greatest digital marketing success stories that you could share?
I think I loved this question. Getting my clients through the pandemic. I think is nobody shut down. That's awesome. So one of them had their best year to date in 2020. We had a client that sold to convenience stores, Walgreens, companies like that. And they sold masks, and we set up online shopping for them and put the masks online. And as you can imagine, that did pretty well at the beginning of 2020, the spring of 2020. And that brought in a substantial amount of revenue for them. There were, some of their convenience stores had gotten burned down in riots or weather, whatever. So they'd hit some hard times with their normal, and nobody was going to Walgreens at the time, their normal channels of revenue were very, very slow. So we were able to generate enough revenue that they didn't have to lay off a single person during 2020.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was. It felt really good, like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also have a dear client who owns a catering company in Los Angeles. And as you remember, everything was shut down. Nobody was having events. Nobody was getting food catered to their parties. Yeah. Everything was shut down. Staffing, even if there was a party, they couldn't get staff and nobody was working. Their income came to a complete halt. All their parties were canceled. Everything was stopped. And we worked with the owner to set up a meal delivery service that not only brought in significant revenue, but also helped the elderly in the nearby communities get healthy food and meals delivered right to their door.
Oh, wow. What a way to pivot.
Yeah. He still thanks me like every Christmas card and every conversation that we have about helping me make it through the pandemic. And, but it's things like that. That was so cool to be able to take these companies and offer that. Both of them were out in California, we're in Atlanta, to be able to help somebody thousands of miles away come up with solutions that save their business, help their employees and the community around them. That was just so cool.
No, absolutely.
That's one of my best.
That's a cool story. Thanks for sharing that. Is there any special advice you'd like to give to our audience that they could use and gain benefits from?
I think not hesitating, don't stall on ideas, on plans. I think I made a list. Putting, if you're throwing like $50 at ads and you don't get sales from it, like don't say ads don't work. You're going to have to hit a certain threshold with your budget, to see results because there's so much competition out there. So I would say make sure that when you're testing, you can do preliminary testing and see kind of where you're getting bites, but, to be prepared to invest in your digital marketing strategies. I think test your ideas, test your messaging. There are lots of ways to do this now. There are websites dedicated to just giving you feedback. Ask your friends, do polls on social media, use those boosted posts and your TikToks to see, what's popular. Make sure your brand is really organized. Make sure you have colors and fonts and a logo. Make sure that you have your logo file and all of its different varieties, your EPS and vector and PNGs and JPEGs. Like make sure you have all the files that you need. So when you start something, every time your brand is out there, you want your logo to be clear, no fuzzy, no pixelated logos.
Absolutely.
And then again, like I said, stalling. Some people want everything to be perfect before trying something. I've got to have like 20 perfect TikToks before I put something out on TikTok. It doesn't have to be perfect, just getting out there. I think that goes back to the authenticity, I don't want people throwing content out there either. Plan it, put some thought behind it, but it doesn't, your content, be careful of who you're comparing yourself to. Your content is not going to look the same as somebody with professional equipment. And I think that's another thing. We're seeing equipment more of what people are using on social media. YouTubers are talking about, they'll even list in the description of their videos, we use this camera, we use this lighting system, and we use this editing software. People are not just, some people are going like this, but there's a lot more that goes into the content. And so, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be too critical. And, when you see a trend, don't be afraid to move quickly. A medical laboratory that does COVID testing, you don't have to wait for the next, wave to hit before you advertise. Like, go ahead and advertise so people already know your brand, know that you're a source a trusted source to go to. Like, I think people are like, oh, the wave's over, so we'll just wait for the next wave before we start our marketing campaign again. It's like, it's not what we're going to do, being ahead of the game, being ahead of trends, looking at your competitors, and then, putting your own spin on things, on products and services, listening to clients. What do they want? I think it's really hard for everybody to hear criticism. Yeah. But I would say one of the best ways that we've been able to grow and provide the services that we provide at the level that we provide them is having hard conversations with clients and finding out, well, what didn't you like, and then changing. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you use data to make those decisions? Data-driven, like analytics decisions, or sales, lack of sales, or for a web design company, it's not necessarily. We see seasonal growth. Yeah. And so it's not, the sales don't necessarily correlate. If we're doing something right or wrong, it's not necessarily going to directly correlate with our sales. And sometimes people that don't have anything nice to say don't leave you reviews. I don't particularly want people putting a 4-star review on Google instead of a 5-star review because they didn't like the way that we did project management or something. And I really try to encourage people to, I want to hear it. Tell me so we can fix it. Tell me first. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I just have 5 rapid fire questions to ask you. They're just quick. So how many places have you visited? I lived in Scotland. I visited Fiji. I've been to Brazil 5 times. Oh, wow. I think, coast to coast, I've been to California, to Fiji. Wow. And then again, Brazil, maybe to Nova Scotia. So I don't know if I have a number, but I've been quite a few places. Quite a few places. Right on. What was your last Google search? I think it was about bath mats. Bath mats, cool. Do you learn by watching? My bathroom. Do you learn by watching or doing? Watch then do. Okay. And then cats or dogs? Cats. Cats. And do you think you would make a good spy? This is a yes or no. I think I would make a good spy, but I think I would be a terrible spy. Right on. Hey, Simone, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. If people wanted to learn more about you, where can they find out more information about you online? On our website, pixlrabbit.com. Pixlrabbit, and that's pixel without an E, rabbit.com. Pixlrabbit.com. Yes. Fantastic. Hey, thanks very much. I really appreciate you being on the show today, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for having me.